Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyse the meta, what's happening over in Japan, and how will it impact home. In today's video, I'm seeing exactly what are the best decks from the Destined Rivals format. Now, Japan City League Championships have come to a close, so we're going to see exactly what decks are being performing the best out there, and the ones we should be looking out for when we get Destined Rivals released next week. Plus, also, we've got some new cards as well, got revealed, so that's also the future of the Japan season. As the season is coming to a close, with their Champions League happening in just a month's sort of time, we'll see exactly how we should really be preparing for this one, as it's going to be revealed with no City League results, plus also a little bit of a channel update at the end of the video. I just want to say thank you so much for supporting my channel with the past few Looking Ahead videos. They've been absolutely amazing. I'm so glad you guys have been enjoying them. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video and the brand new cards. So there weren't too many cards got revealed last week, but we did see some two very fun ones, Typhlosion and Reuniclus. So they obviously always work together, and they have some fun sort of evolution style package. Typhlosion has the attack Cellular Evolution, so it's like for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon and put that Pokemon onto it, which evolves it, then shuffle your deck afterwards. Not too bad, but thinking you're only really good at out turn 2, not really that powerful. But we do have Reuniclus with two fun attacks, Cellular Awakening. For each of your bench Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from that Pokemon and put that Pokemon into a play to evolve it, shuffle your deck afterwards. This is obviously great. If you can get this out turn 2, pretty much evolving all of your guys, and this is a perfect partner for likes of Mamoswine, pretty much getting out a ton of stage level 2s. They can work out well with the likes of Ludicolo, giving the guys a ton of bump of a HP. Then we have the Evo Laterite with for attack, 40 plus 40 for each of your evolved Pokemon in play. This is basically a single prize attacker with Mamoswine. If you have all evolution Pokemon in play, I believe it probably would be including yourself as well. So if all of the Pokemon are evolved, that's additional quite a lot of damage. I think that's over 200 damage, so that's going to be pretty powerful overall and not too bad, which are this sort of attacking option. But I'm just so excited for the set, and this is going to be out in just a few weeks' time. So expect like next week we're going to get a ton of reveals. So, obviously I just mentioned before that Japan season is coming to a close. The City League Championship has been finished right now. That finished last weekend. We've got a further breakdown we'll talk about a little bit later on. And that won't come back until September time, as we're coming to the end of their season. But we do get Japan's Championships getting held on June 23rd, so just over a month's time, which I'm really excited about, because Black Bolt and White Flare will be legal. So effectively, it will be our world's format. So that's going to be really interesting to see exactly what Japan's going to think is going to be the best way to play is. Could we see some of these brand new sort of archetypes do well? But as also mentioned as well, they currently have Psyduck legal, which we won't be having legal potentially in earliest about September time, unless we get a product reveal. So that's definitely something to be kept an eye out for. So it's also right now, many of the results going into this format all the way until September time will come from the gym battles, which are very similar to the likes of league challenges. So you can always take these with a little bit of a pinch of salt, but I always find these deck lists are so much more creative than a City League, where City Leagues are much more consistent, they're very straightforward, they're very much going with the best of the best, whereas one of them gym battles, you can have some crazy, amazing style archetypes, which always do really well, and some unique ways to play. So expect some very fun creative deck lists coming in the next few months. So let's actually look and see exactly the City League meta share for the entirety of the Glory of Team Rocket's format. So this will be our Destined Rivals format. I've pretty much tallied on from all 233 City Leagues that happened during this sort of event, basically over the last few weeks. And honestly, it's definitely a little bit surprising, but let's also not forget about this. They currently, the whole time this was out, had Psyduck. So this is obviously going to skew with some of the results. Similar to the likes of Charizard doing incredibly well, and Dragapult percentage numbers maybe just a little bit less than we expect. But obviously at the top is Raging Bolt being 20.5%. I genuinely think this is a good sort of number. It is a best of one format. It is a very powerful sort of deck and has a ton of good answers. We're noticing right now there's a lot more introduction to the likes of Iron Leaves going into Raging Bolt sort of decks, as well as also Joltik, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. I think this is a good answer to the likes of the obviously Charizard, but also the Marnie's Grimmsnarl, but Zoroark, the other sort of darkness decks, which are taking up nearly 20% of the metagame. So it's a great other sort of attacking option. There's also, if it gets like locked in the active spot, like with Corner, we're seeing quite a bit kind of pop up in some of these Straw Sword style strategies, or even Marnie's Grimmsnarl. To have a good answer for this one, just putting something in the active spot and then retreating it with likes of Latia. So it's a good sort of response as well. Dragapult is also at that 12.8%, so quite a good number as well. We're definitely seeing a lot of Dustmore still being played. We're already seeing right now in our sort of format, as well as also still in Japan, even though they have Psyduck. That is definitely one of the most popular ways to play this one, and there are still so many different aspects people are trying out. We're seeing Upper Neo Energy really kind of go into the shine with Dragapult, partnering up with the likes of Crobat as their attacking option, or generally just straight Dragapult build, but having that up in Neo Energy, sacrificing from likes of Crispin, it's actually not too bad for that extra energy acceleration, which is still good. I still think Unfair Stamp and Crystal is much better for either the aggressive play or having that disruptive. Now, Gardevoir is that 10.3%, which again, I think is very, very valid for this right now. If we're seeing Dragapult be basically nearly a third of the entire City League meta share, being about 33%, obviously Gardevoir's going to do incredibly well with the likes of Clefairy. We talked about last week that Gardevoir didn't really gain too many new interesting cards from Destiny Rivals. People thought, oh, we'll play Rocket's Mimikyu. It's basically just Mew EX at one sort of stage against the likes of Dragapults and Charizards. But honestly, I think having the likes of the Petrol for their searching deck for any trainer card, or generally the T-Rocket's Watchtower are great sort of disruptive sort of cards as well, or generally that search that Gardevoir really needs. Joltik Box is doing incredibly well as well in Japan, being at 7.5%. It's a deck which definitely kind of like came out from nowhere. Lots of people kind of teamed up and went, oh, this is actually really, really powerful. It works really well. It's like the new sort of version of Terra Box, which we really required. And it kind of was a way for Miraidon and Iron Hands to still be relevant. Iron Hands is up there with Dragapult right now with one of the best attacks in the name, with that amp you very much, doing 120 damage and taking an additional prize card. If we're seeing lots of these colorless Pokemon, I like to Pidgeot, do pretty well in certain decks like Charizard and Ethan's Typhlosion, we're basically going to see a 3 prize right now. As well as also Squawkabilly, it's kind of like appearing in a lot more different archetypes. So I think it's really, really good. It's again, which is a deck which does run the likes of Iron Leaves, having that additional retreating option. You're already playing a lot of grass energy, so why not play this one? Didn't gain too many fun things, but I think it's great. Charizard is a good sort of deck as well, being at 7.2%. It's a deck which I always think does really well in Japan, and I've never seen it translate over to us, and I still didn't see the appeal, but especially after the Champions League, where it got in 3 of the 4 top 8 spots, including that win, which was partnered with Dragapult, it's definitely going to be a unique piece. Now, being that said, I think one of the most popular ways is that Charizard Dragapult build, which is definitely either the best way to play Dragapult right now, but the best way to play Charizard, I do think is partnered with likes of Pidgeot and Dusknoir still. Yes, I know we still got the Psyduck, which is definitely the best sort of thing for what Charizard is doing, and I know that it's that Terra thing as well, but I think there's a lot of the Team Rocket's highlights going to do incredibly well popular, especially for Control. I think we're going to see a huge resurgence in Control at NEIC, so I do think we might see some like that sort of come around. So I think Charizard going to the Pidgeot sort of build. Yes, I know it gets shot off for the Stadium card, but you still have that Dusknoir, so we can have that additional more attacking option as well. Archaludon is at that 6.7%. It is still a very popular deck and not really seen as much in our sort of format right now. It's definitely kind of like dwindling its numbers a little bit, but I still think it has that good sort of spot in the metagame. Having obviously the access now to the Team Rocket's bomb, surprise bomb, where you flip a coin, if heads, put some damage coming on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If tails, you do 20 damage yourself. Partner up with Monkey Dory, it's great. Partner up with the new Psyduck as well, which again, we don't know when we're getting this one. Sorry about that. Hopefully we get it as a promo before Worlds. It protects it from that Dusknoir. We are now actually seeing owners Pokemon actually do really well, and 3 different ones, and 2 of them are going to be obviously legal from Destiny Rivals, which is obviously that Marnie's Grimmsnarl being 6.7%. I'm again going to always be talking about this one. If it wasn't thanks for that day 2 showing in April at the Champions League, this deck I feel like would not be as popular right now. It is so powerful and so strong, and currently you can play it right now on PTTG Live, which is really, really exciting. I think it's a very, very strong archetype. It's incredibly powerful and works really, really well for that disruptive capability. Locking stuff in the active spot will potentially either corner or trapping them from item locks in an item lock sort of situation, and generally putting a ton of abilities, so counters on Pokemon abilities, which is so popular. If we just look at this whole metagame, nearly every single one of them evolves around either attacking Pokemon has an ability, or really focused on having abilities as a whole. So this really takes big sort of capitalizing against that sort of factor as well. Gholdengo is still up there, being at 3.9%. I think Make It Rain and obviously, coin bonus is great for that amazing draw to a Pacta and dealing a ton of damage. But we've seen some other archetypes like Dragapult and Charizard and Gardevoir be up there. We need to discuss 7 energies. That's where Monkey Dory really becomes in handy, and it works well for a plethora of different support Pokemon. For example, like Ethan's Typhlosion, which is one of my favorite decks right now. And one of the best things you see is right now, it's a single prize archetype being nearly 3%. And that is one of the best things right now, I think, about this format right now. We finally see a potential really reliable single prize attacker. It has been so long since we've seen this one. We've had so many decks trying to get to this one. I feel like Ancient Box was the last big single prize archetype which done really well. We saw Okidoki do fun over on the over in Utrecht sort of special event this past few weekend. We saw some fun sort of single prize decks, but I feel like this Ether Typhlosion one can really keep up with metagame. It can deal over 300 damage, have a pretty much a single prize board state. I love this card. I love this deck. It is my favorite deck to play in Destiny Rival, and I'm so glad it's doing well. So it's also likes of him and Zoroark. It hasn't gained obviously new cards in Destiny Rivals, but I think it gains a good sort of spot position in the metagame. We are still seeing Shaman pop up in nearly all of these style decks here, so you have added bench protection, which is definitely a bit of a hindrance from your obviously Duramatam's Flame Body Cadam, but you do obviously hit for relevant weakness for likes of Gardevoir, and also I feel like it's had a good sort of attack as well. Not many things can easily one-shot you, and I feel like you could do pretty well against most of the other meta. So overall, looking at the Destiny Rival sort of format, would have been performing well in the City Leagues. I think it's a quite unique sort of approach about how we're seeing that kind of go over. I think it's great we're seeing owners Pokemon actually make up a little bit of the graphic. I feel like last time we only saw like maybe Enzoroark. People really wanted Hop Zacian, but sorry about my voice. Hop Zacian just wasn't it for right now. I've got a video, I think it's like out this week, which actually had some quite interesting ones. Surprise Bomb could be a good way to play Hop Zacian in the future in the Destiny Rivals format, but I feel like these three owners Pokemon are definitely the best ones. I would love Cynthia's, but it's not doing it as well. I think Charizard is a deck which could do really well in our format, but without release of Psyduck, I'm not too sure overall. And obviously, Raging Ball's always going to be at the top, purely because of that very, very powerful a best of one format in Japan. So this is the metagame of the whole the Destiny Rivals sort of format. Let's see exactly what the decks are doing well right now. From the gym challenges after this week, I've seen how strong all of these decks were at the City League at the end. So let's start by looking at Raging Bolt, the most common way to play this one. So these exactly, I'm going to look at all of these sort of top decks and analyze exactly, see what I think is the best way to play this one from these winning results this past weekend. So you can see here they are playing three of the different of the single prize ancient Pokemon. I think Slithwing is great. If we're seeing Joltik box be very popular, you need an answer to Pikachu, and this is your straight one here. I think having the baby Koraidon could actually be taken out from the list right now. Obviously, it does 100 damage, but only if you use one of your ancient Pokemon attacked last turn. And obviously, you have Baby Raging Bolt, which is one of the strongest attackers right now, dealing a ton of damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. We're also seeing the introduction of Iron Leaves, really kind of seeing that as a free retreat pivot. So it's also our answer to that Marnie's Grimmsnarl, the Zoroarks, and the Charizard with ease for only 3 energies. We're going up to 4 stadium cards. We want to have that answer to the stadium, T-Rocket's Watchtower as quickly as possible, because we really rely on the likes of Noctowl, Fan Rotom for setup, as well as also Squawkabilly and Ditto at the start. So you want to have really easy ways to bump out this one. So the higher the stadium count, the higher chance you are to draw this one. I think this is a very good Raging Bolt, and especially if we're going into the Destiny Rivals format, the best way to play it. Next one, we've got a couple Dragapult lists here, which is quite unique. One of this build here, this is pretty much exactly what I did for Journeys Together format. It's very, very straightforward, and Dragapult and Dust Noir is probably the best way right now, and the most popular ones that have done well in Japan, and I still think it's going to be the best version to play this one in the Destiny Rivals format. As we don't have the release of Psyduck for this one, I think this deck is going to do really well. Going to Shark over Brock Scouting, it always depends. If you go see a lot more, much more Badoo, I would definitely go for that Brock Scouting, or if you go see a bit less of this one, definitely go for the likes of the Shark. Having the TM evolution is great. You can easily evolve into your Dracloaks and Dusclops very quickly, and having 2 copies of Badoo, obviously for that item lock very early on, and the Blood Moon is a great other attacking option with Sparking Crystal as the ace spec. We also have this one here, the Charizard build, which is obviously very well. This is very similar to the winning list. Of course, it does have that copy of Psyduck. If you're thinking exactly what to switch out for, I do have a video out next week of the top decks to properly play competitively in the Destiny Rivals format. We could easily switch this from the likes of a Badoo, because I always think it's very powerful. If you want to prioritize Dragapult, go for the Badoo to slow down your opponent, or if you want to go much quicker, much more aggressive, prioritize the likes of Cleffa over Badoo. I'll talk about it a little bit later on. Cleffa, I think, is great for Charizard. You want to be fast, you want to be aggressive, focus on that. Or if you want to focus on Dragapult, you want to be slower, you want to set up slowly enough. So swapping out for that Psyduck for the Badoo is a great option. And that T-Rocket's hideout as well. Just swapping down the likes of these Pidgeots, the Noctowls, the Fan Rotoms, all of these very powerful color spoken abilities. Heck, even the likes of Blood Moon Luna is really, really strong. Now, obviously, a fun deck which actually just see quite some success over this past weekend in Japan is having Blaziken as partner. And I really love Blaziken. I think it's an absolutely amazing energy acceleration. And we saw it quite a little bit in our format, but I think we're hopefully going to see a lot of it in the Destiny Rivals. It has an amazing ability, which is attach an energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon in play. Obviously, it's an easy way for you to chain your Dragapult. You can already play Fire Energy. And this deck here is focusing on a lot more on Darkness energies, so you can actually attach them to Munkidori, move around with damage counters, protecting your guys a little bit and going that sort of way. Unfair Stamp be a bit more disruptive. Corner sort of version with Miraculous to slow down the opponent's Pokemon. And obviously you can play higher counts of Earthen Vessel and Ultra Ball because you can easily discard the likes of these energies and easily energy accelerate them with the likes of your Basicum and traps from the active spot on the opponent's side with the likes of Miraculous, which I think is really, really strong. I really think because you're playing 3 different energies, Crispin will be a good sort of inclusion. So the likes of Mortis, but you are very heavy on the counter catchers Gust. I really, really like this sort of version of a slow sort of Pult and could be really interesting. Could we see this translate into our format in just a few weeks' time? Now, Gardevoir. Hasn't really changed too much, I feel like, since the winning list. And this one here only really plays one new card, which is that Team Rocket's Hideout, but also plays that Team League Headquarters. Now, obviously, Team League Headquarters is a double-edged sword. It limits basic Pokemon's attacks for 1 additional colorless energy. And obviously, this is fine if we're attacking like a Drifter or Screamtail. We're going to have a ton of energies on this one. But for decks, for example, like Badoo, Mew, Monkey Dory, as well as also Clefairy, if you're attacking with this one, Mew also needs 4 energies, Clefairy needs 3, same thing on Monkey Dory, and you need to have an energy attachment from hand to Badoo. So that's definitely something you need to really be thinking about if you want to have that in play. But they will be limiting the opponent's side and forcing them to have an energy attachment to their version of Badoo. So that could be a really good way to actually win out that sort of strategy. So just generally things to really think about. But I think Gardevoir is in a great sort of spot. I think the Team League Headquarters is amazing. That really limiting the opponent's Pokemon from using their abilities. And I think Secret Box is a great way. We've seen it already, Brent Thomason winning over down there in Australia, so we know Gardevoir is one of the best sort of decks right now in this format, and definitely kind of go forward in Destiny Rivals. I don't think it's really going to go anywhere because of how dominant it's been in the Journey Together format. Next one is Joltik Box, and this is quite a fun sort of deck as well to go into this one. Again, no really new cards that goes into this one, but I think it could work well with the metagame. Having like sort of Volcanion is great with partner of Latias, just having the additional more switching cards and additional adding damage is perfect. I think Gravity Mountain is amazing because obviously Pikachu is perfect. It's your big attacker doing 300 damage, but you're not one-hit killing the likes of Gardevoirs or Dragapults or Charizards. So having Gravity Mountain forcing their HP to go down by 30 means you can easily get them great sort of KOs in the late sort of game. Iron Leaves, again, for that answer to Charizard, the other dark Pokemon as well. You want them to have, and also it's a good sort of retreating option as well. It's basically your version of Russian Retreat with Keldeo, especially with having the Latias down on the bench. So I think this is a very, very powerful deck. Joltik for that amazing jolting charge, touch your neck for up to 2 grass and lightning energies and attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. Just incredibly strong right now. In this sort of format, sorry, I think it's the Lightning Pokemon. And obviously the Gavantia has a good sort of secondary attacking option as a single prize Pokemon. Next one is Charizard, and I think this is definitely the best way to play Charizard. Yes, I know you could partner up with Dragapult, which I think could be one of the best ways, one of the best decks going in the Destiny Rivals format. But I think this build here of Charizard is really, really strong, and it really capitalizes exactly what I talked about. I said Charizard wants to be fast, much more aggressive than Dragapult. That's why I always prioritize like the Cleffa over Badoo. With Dragapult, you want to have that slow turn. You want to be building up your guys. You want to take your opponent about 2 or 3 turns off the item cards, and then eventually attack them when they're a little bit whittled down after multiple Ionos. They can't really get a setup, and then all of a sudden you can swing and hopefully win the game. But Charizard doesn't want that. It wants to win very fast, very aggressive. It wants to, at the end of its first turn, going second, using Cleffa with that grasping draw until you have 7 cards. It wants to have this massive hand size. So that's exactly what it wants to do. That's where Cleffa really works, especially with likes of TM Evolution as well. One of the issues with Charizard right now is 180 damage isn't really that strong of an output right now. So having that Bravery Charm, sorry, not Bravery Charm, the Defiance Band is great to hit for additional 30 more damage. But again, I think you could go for Maximum Melt, which would definitely be a lot more popular right now in Charizard. And I really like Unfair Stamp, going back to the old age of Charizard, that slow destructive approach. And as we don't have the likes of the Psyducks, that's where the Dust Gold line is really, really good right now in Charizard. Now let's look at Archaludon. This is the one that which I talked about before, that Secret Bomb. And it's such a unique sort of way to play this deck. It's such a fun way to play the new cards as well. And this build here is much more aggressive than other sort of thing. It has a very, very aggressive draw with 4 Researchers and 2 Adventurers Guidance. And it has that 3 copies of Surprise Bomb with also Hero's Cape. I really love Hero's Cape on Archaludon. Giving it 400 HP is amazing. It is so difficult. 400 HP with no weakness, effectively. It can pretty much hardly get anything can one-hit KO that's one very easily on. Out of Gholdengo, they discard all of their energies, like 8 energies, plus the energy attachment return. They need 9 energies to one-hit KO you. That is a huge amount of damage to do with hit one. It also plays the Team Rocket's hideout as well. Watch out, I love how this is really such a splashable stadium card. People really realize how powerful Noctowl is. Noctowl is one of the best sort of draw engines right now in the format. To search your deck for any card if you've got Terra Pokemon in play. It absolutely insanely strong right now. So having the limiting them as well is really, really strong. So also Blood Moon Ursaluna, it's an amazing attacking option and has obviously if you get rid of its Blood Heart ability, it is very, very, it's a Bloodthirsty Eyes. I always forget which ability it is. Just slushing that down is really, really strong. So I think this is definitely the best way to play Archaludon. None of the Zash in the X's or Hop Zash in the X or going at the Matang. This build here, just very, very strong, tanking a lot of stuff with the Churros and having a ton of HP, and just having the surprise problem with Monkey Dory. Really, really powerful. Now we have the Marnie's Grimmsnarl build here. And again, this is pretty much exactly the third or fourth time we're going to be looking at pretty much the winning, sorry, not the winning list, the top 8 and top 16 lists from the Champions League. I just think it's just really, really strong. I think it's very, very powerful and definitely the best way to play this build. For those who don't know what it does, you have like so Frostlass to put additional more damage counters in between Pokemon checkups, Pokemon abilities on here, Monkey Dory to move them around. You have Badu to item lock. You could play the Miraculous Corner, which has seen a lot of success as well, trapping stuff in the active spot. And then there's sort of a late game as well. You have Grimmsnarl to do 320 HP, Energy Accelerate to your Marnie's Pokemon, and 180 damage for 2 Dark Energies, and then 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Yes, I know there's Shaman in this sort of format, but that's where Monkey Dory and lots of these damage counters around can really help you actually get the KO on this one effectively very, very quickly and before you really need to have that Grimmsnarl. I think this is a very, very powerful spread style archetype. We haven't really seen spread be played very, very popular. We know how strong it is in Japan. We know how popular it's been in Japan. And hopefully, as it's now being released over for us right now, last weekend, we can hopefully see it do really, really well in our format leading up to NEIC. Gholdengo as well is another deck which doesn't really know what it wants to do. I've mentioned before, it's similar to like Dragapult. It's struggling to know exactly what is the best way to play this one. And I feel like the partner right now, Gholdengo has gone through so many. The Dunsparce, Dragapult, Ethan's Typhlosion, the likes of Scizor. There is this, you can name an evolving Pokemon that goes well with this one. Gholdengo's tried this one. And I think Dragapult is definitely the most popular build over there in Japan. I just think it has have so much draw factor, especially with Recon Directive. This gives you an additional 2 more cards. You have Dragapult, an amazing attacking option as well, and hopefully spread some damage counters around here. You're never really going to be attacking with your Dragapults, hence why there's only really one of us on this one. Gholdengo is still your main attacking option, but your Cloaks are just additional more draw factors, and then Dragapult as well is a great additional attack if you need to in the late game. Crispin as well for that additional energy acceleration, so it's also attaching to that Monkey Dory as well. I think this is a very, very fun deck, but again, when you are playing Crispin, you want to be playing this one much earlier on, especially before you get the what's it called? The team Energy Search Pro, because you want to actually have energies in your deck and not worry about it later on. Of course, obviously Crispin can energy accelerate to your Dragapult as well. Overall, very, very fun. I think this is one of the strongest build and most popular way to play Gholdengo. But another fun one, or I think my favorite way to play this one, is the Ethan's Typhlosion with Gholdengo. I love this one because I love Ethan's Typhlosion. Anyway, how I can partner this one is great. I think it works well with the Adventure Bond ability. Or is it Call to Adventure? I forget they've now done the English translation for Quilava. Search your deck for an Ethan's Adventurer. You could use Ethan's Adventurer, search your deck for 3 fire energies. And then you could use the other Quilava you have there. Search your deck for another Ethan's Adventurer, discard this one. Then all of a sudden you've got a single price Pokemon in the late style game to 280 damage. Whereas you will need like basically 6 energy to do that discarding. You only need 1 fire energy in the late style game with Ethan's Typhlosion. Definitely a good counterpoint. You have a ton of draw with Gholdengo, and they're having a great sort of single price with 170 HP will be really, really good, especially in the late style game, with very good relevant weakness as well. Now going into actual Ethan's Typhlosion, this is the build which I think is most popular and probably going to be the best one going into this new format. Obviously with that Pidgeot EX. Lots of people have partnered it with the Dunsparce, but I really love it with Pidgeot. I think Pidgeot is one of the greatest ways to play it one. Also think, again, we are seeing the first thing I've actually got Psyduck in here, but that's an easy switch. Switch out for Badu and you can pretty much play it straight away. I love having Redeemable Ticket, a card which people thought was going to be terrible, but it's the only card right now that can interact with prize card. So if you prize your Ethan the Adventurer, well, you can play this surprise ticket, count your prize cards, shuffle them to put them on your deck, and then draw the amount of prize cards you counted and put them on as your prizes. As you do this one, I need to always reiterate, make sure you've actually got as many of your Ethan's Adventurer in your hand before you do this one, because you don't want to play this card and then you save 2 and then you put additional 1 in the prizes, because you never really want this one. You have another way to do additional more damage with the likes of your Defiance Span and Maxim Bell. Defiance Span making you do 310 damage, amazing, and Max Span to do 330, incredible numbers. And of course, that very, very powerful Gravity Mountain, we saw how good it is in Joltik box. If Pikachu can hit over that 300 damage, this helps you again hit that relevant number as well. You actually push Gardevoir straight down to 280 HP, so you can actually get the big one-hit KO. Then also you can have the likes of Defiance Band, one-hit KO the Charizard and Dragapult with ease. I think this is a really powerful deck. It is so fun to play this one, and definitely my favorite way to play for Typhlosion. But again, I mentioned before, you do have the Dunsparce, and this is that exact build. They have another additional way to do additional energy damage with Black Belt's expertise, doing 50 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon who is a EX Pokemon. So again, another good way around this one. And again, we are seeing the Psyduck, easy switch out for a second copy of Badoo, but a lot more disruptive. This is really only does play Serendipity as your 2 pricer, and I just think it's very strong. Again, I did mention here, there is no Lana's Aid, and I think Lana's Aid is powerful, especially in a very heavy Badoo format as a way to actually recover Pokemon outside of the likes of Super Rod. So I do, and Night Stretcher, so I do think this is a good sort of chance as well. This is getting all those cards straight away into your hand. And finally, the last sort of card deck I do want to talk about is Zoroark, and this build here is a little bit different to where we've seen most sort of builds currently. We're seeing actually a return of Petra and EX, but no copies whatsoever of Binding Moat to do additional more damage. Still relying on the likes of the Defiance Band if you are behind, so Zoroark can do additional more 30 damage. The reason why I think the likes of Petra is in here is one, you want to have a switching out. You want to actually make sure you can like switch your Zoroark into the active spot. You can work it well with the likes of the Ends PP up to Energy Accelerate, and I generally think you just need that card right now. We're seeing a lot of corners pop up right now. We're seeing a lot of trapping as well, and lots of you guys have a lot of 2 retreat costs, and we're in a very big heavy stadium war because of that Team Rockets Watchtower. Lots of decks are going to be playing 3 to 4 sort of stadium cards. We only really ever play 2 Ends Castle, so we want to have a guaranteed switch out of some of these Pokemon, especially if we're going to be in a very heavy these sort of retreat costs overall. So again, I do think Zoroark is a great sort of deck to play in the Destiny Rivals format, but overall, I think Unfair Stamp is a powerful sort of ace spec as well. We've seen it with a lot of stuff. We've seen it with Hyper Aroma. We've seen it with Maximum Belt. We've seen it with the likes of Prime Catcher. But Unfair Stamp, for that disruptive capability, especially with so much draw in this deck, could definitely be the best way to play Zoroark. So generally, wrapping up, looking ahead, how has this format really evolved? Has it really evolved enough? We're now at the end of the basically Japan's competitive scene in the Destiny Rivals format. We had one half Champions League with half of Destiny Rivals, and then we had one full set with a card which we don't have, which is definitely a huge impact to the format as well. So generally, one of the biggest questions I look at this for one is, has Psyduck really changed? Will it change our meta? We know we're probably, I generally feel like we're not going to get it. We feel like we are not getting it in Destiny Rivals, so we're going to see exactly a huge format how that's really going to impact us. Will we see other decks do so much better or generally a lot worse? Is Charizard not really needed right now in this format if we're going to see a lot more other decks went much stronger? And we're going to see Dragapult be the best partner right now for Dusknoir, and that doesn't change anything at all. That deck is always going to be the best deck in format pretty much forever. Or could we see Gardevoir rise up the ranks, especially how many wins is kind of going to it? I also want to have a quick mention as well, just a little touch as well for the future of some bit of a channel. For those who don't know, I've just accepted a job which I'll be working a little bit more remotely, so some of the videos might be a little bit less frequent, and that will be starting off next week. I do have some videos planned for next week, so don't worry. I've got my top rogue and top competitive decks, which will be out next week, which I'm really excited for you guys to see this one. But generally, there might be a little bit less frequent of looking ahead. I'm going to still always try to get one video once a week, whether it be a short video, whether it be a looking ahead video, whether it be a fun sort of look at what my favorite sort of decks right now are to play. But I'm always going to try and get this one into it. I am going to be away from my setup for a bit. This might be going on until October time, but it might be going on a little bit less. But I'm always going to be up there, and hopefully I'm going to get as many frequent videos as possible. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below, how excited are you for Destiny Rivals? Do you think it'll actually change the meta game that much? Or are we going to see an absolute huge fest of Dragapult and Gardevoir and Ragemont constantly see up back up at the top tables? My name is TCG, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Bye for now.